Author's note. Thought long and hard on how I'm gonna be playing this, tell me what you think. Disclaimer. I don't want any of these shows. Danny Phantom, My Life of K. Teen Gay Robot, and A-Type Group. The Adventure of Many Ribera belong to Nickelodeon. Bionic Titan, Ben 10, Generator Rex, and The Secret Saturdays belong to Cartoon Network. Miraculous. Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir belongs to Zagtoon. Max belongs to Mattel Playground Productions. Randy Cunningham, 9th Grade Ninja, Kim Possible, and Star vs. The Forces of Evil belongs to Disney. Don't forget to leave reviews. Enjoy. Prologue. Preparations for war. Unknown universe. Somewhere in the vast multiverse, there lay a homeworld located in a galaxy with multicolored space and 2 moons. It is composed of a rough terrain with many mountains and rock formations. In the center of the planet is a citadel-like structure. From its appearance, one could see the advanced technology it was based on. It was dark in color and had red grid-like pattern lines. One thing to take notice of was that there wasn't any denizens, but we'll soon find the answer once we put our main focus to the towering military-esque building. Inside the complex, there are various weapons and vehicles made for the sole purpose of war. Heavily modified tanks, sleek aerodynamic jet fighters, you name it. At the center of the room was a humongous army of gray-skinned lifeforms with fangs and soulless black eyes. They were wearing black armor with glowing red circuit lines. They were armed with dangerous laser blasters. It was obvious to any human that was in the vicinity that these creatures were preparing for one thing: war. If you were to stand near one, you could feel the malicious aura that surrounded them. They looked anxious and gripped their weapons with excitement, almost as if they were ready to kill anyone with them and make the people suffer. They approached a mysterious figure shrouded by the shadows who was sitting upon the throne. Clearly this was their leader. General Xerxes. Leader asked in a growling voice. Tell me, are all the preparations for our assault ready? He asked. The sheer intensity of his voice coupled with its dark tone were to send down a shiver down the spines of even the bravest of warriors. Said General kneeled down and bowed his head obediently. Yes, my master. Our faces are ready to attack and decimate the primitives in other worlds. No one will stand in our good. Leader grinned evilly. Finally, after so long of waiting, planning, and taking in account of nearly every variable their scholars and scientists could possibly take account of, plan shall come into fruition and his people will emerge as the superiors of all worlds, no matter what it takes. He raised from his throne and addressed his army of underlings. Warriors. I speak to you now to tell you that the time has come for us to show the whole multiverse our glory, our power, and our superiority over them. Like all who came before worlds, they shall feel the full force of the Dark Enters. He roared, enticing them to cheer out. The soldiers raised their fists and their blasters to show him their support for the mission. Leader raised his hand to silence them. As most of are no doubt aware, this is not the first time we have brought entire universes to their knees. Since before our race even had a name, we have made a history of other planes of existence, and I shall tell you that this time will not be anything different. He promised. For with our advanced technology that has been adapted with the tech we've taken from other worlds, nothing will stand in our way. The spies I've sent are ready to pave way for our ascension. Dr. Xone. A more skinny-looking alien walked up at the mention of his name. At your service, my liege. Please, tell me that you and your fellow intellectuals made sure that the alternate worlds we have chosen are ready for our arrival. The scientist pulled out a circular device that showed the holograms of 9 planets that greatly resembled each other. These are the worlds we will begin to attack, my liege. The parallel dimensional counterparts of one another, they are a planet called Earth. Then he pulled out another planet that was significantly different that seemed more luscious alternate Earths he was presenting. I also have found another planet that may prove to be beneficial to any potential missions. It is called Galaluna, and from what we've gathered, a planet that has perfected its technology at Riftgate portals. It is capable of interstellar travel and perhaps with some modifications we could advance it even further. Leader stroked his chin with a thoughtful look. Intriguing. Xerxes snorted. Is this truly something of worth mentioning to our leader, scientist? He said with skepticism. We already have enough technology for the mission. How possibly this Riftgate technology be useful? Xone narrowed his eyes at the general. I'm merely providing our illustrious leader with a new means to make our society even more advanced than the primitives. Gerald, Ma should be more mindful of, enough. Leader snarled, silencing them from continuing their argument. General, if it means that it would be useful to our mission and our way of life, then we shall use it. However, we will put all our focus on the task at hand. Ready the soldiers and ready our machines, we begin as soon as our army is. General Zone nodded. At once, my liege. The army leader replied as he took his leave. Our time shall come soon, my brothers. We will purge all the worlds of their resources, we will make the weak and pitiful inhabitants our slaves, for we have never lost any war history. Leader raised his fist in the air. Long life Dark Enters. His subjects repeated the cry over and over. Long life Dark Enters. Long life Dark Enters. Long life Dark Enters. The race of dimensional conquering aliens were ready to lay waste to all the Earths, and nothing would stand in their way. Ghost Zone, lair of clockwork. Ghost Master of Time. However, little did the Dark Enters knew that they were being watched for one of the most powerful and temporal enlightened of all dimensions. Deep within the pocket demons, was flipside to one of the other alternate Earths, was the lair of clockwork. He is known as the Spectral Master of Time in his home universe. He had been viewing his time portal that showed various alternate timelines and dimensions, most notably the dimension of the Dark Enters, and knew of the present danger there coming. The Ghost Zone was a flick dimension of one of the Earths that those insidious aliens have targeted, and should it get destroyed, then his own home would follow suit. In all honesty, he had hoped it would never have come to this. He knew of the Dark Enters and their capacity for both violence, and has seen the many worlds that have been conned by the very same aliens. He witnessed the many deaths that took place, entire civilizations wiped out, form the infinite curve of the multiverse. He knew exactly what needed to prevent another tragedy from happening once more. As a master of time, he had many powers to change almost anything. But before he could even act on this, he was stopped. Clockwork. The Time Master turned and saw the familiar sight of two familiar beings wearing regal-like clothing, and their heads were nothing but big green eyes with no mouths. These were observants, high-class authoritative figures in the Ghost Zone. They oversaw all the important problems that may have threatened them or the entire Ghost Zone. Clockwork nodded towards them, recognizing their importance. Ah, observants. I was wondering when you would arrive. I take it you hear about the present threat. Do not. Was just about to go take care of it myself. Actually, Master of Time. We wanted to talk to you about that. Observant 1 told him. We have conversed with our fellow observants, and we are here to tell you that you will not interfere in the slightest with this. Do not interfere. Observant 2 repeated. Clockwork pinched the bridge of his nose in annoyance. Okay, first of all, you're repeating yourselves again, and second of all, what do you mean don't interfere? The Ghost of demanded. You of all beings know of the terror and destruction that the Dark Enters bringing their wake. To do nothing would be suicidal. We decided that this is the best course of action. Observant 1 said. The Dark Enters have greatly improved in both their numbers and their technology. Observant 2 added. It is obvious that nothing can possibly stop them in their path. The option would be to do nothing. Clockwork clenched a fist in silent fury. So what you both are telling me is that you were comfortable with those creatures destroying entire worlds, that you would allow innocent be destroyed before your very eye? Need I remind you that the Ghost Zone exists in conjunction with the human world? Therefore, if it should get destroyed, then the same can for us and the entirety of our home. He reminded them, shifting into his adult form. There are other dimensions. Observant 2 pointed out. We can always find a new home. Clockwork had very ample reason to use his powers to make them fade away from existence right now, along with all the other short-sighted observants in the Ghost Zone. The Dark Enters go free to destroy as many lives as they can, all completely plundering so many alternate Earths with little to no hesitation. In the years he's been amassed, the one thing he couldn't stand was that insufferable oath that the one-eyed beings were so committed to. Sighing a deep breath, Clockwork turned around. Well, you have proven your point. Now I believe this is the part where you observe the door. He gestured his staff to the exit. Clockwork, get out. The Ghost Master said darkly, shifting into his elderly form. The two observants knew better than to argue further with him, so they complied with his order, leaving him alone with his thoughts of dread. Simple-minded, short-sighted fools. He muttered with a scowl, shifting into his child form. They've done us all. You really shouldn't be that much surprised, old friend. After all, they are the observants. A British voice said. Clockwork turned to see who it was, and it was another being who had centuries of knowledge of the entire space-time continuum. He who once started out as a normal human, much clarity and near godhood. Fellow Time Master, Professor Paradox. Professor Paradox. Clockwork nodded in a greeting, having met him sometime in the past, present, or future. I was beginning to wonder when you'd come. He said, shook hands with him. It's been a while, hasn't it? Paradox mused with a smile. For us it could have been a year, a decade, a millennia. I believe you were aware of the present danger to the multiverse upon us. Clockwork nodded grimly. Indeed. The Dark Entities are beginning to mobilize and the Observants wish for us to do nothing. I never really did understand their oath, to observe and never act. Paradox remarked. And they're not the only ones, even the Celestial Zapians would rather float idly by. It's frustrating. So all hope is lost. Clockwork looked down somberly. Not necessarily. Paradox countered with a wry smile. There is an alternative. The Earths that they have targeted are homes to certain youths that we have been monitoring for time. 2 of which we happen to know very well. Clockwork raised an eyebrow, knowing what his fellow Time Master was speaking of. If I remember correctly, that idea was scrapped. Paradox nodded. Well, yes, but the Dark Entities will unknowingly give them the means to come together and assemble. Which will be their own undoing. Clockwork wanted to be as optimistic as Paradox, but there were some problems with that plan. What makes you so sure they'll succeed? Paradox turned to him. Because my old friend, they'll face a common threat that will make them all realize that only together can they not only win, but also avenge all the lives and worlds that were destroyed by the Dark Entities. You seem very confident. Clockwork noted. It's not just luck, Clockwork. The Englishman said. What else is there? The Ghost Master inquired. Paradox only had one answer for his friend. Hope.